Axel's a sharp fractional CMO with a killer community and a strong client roster. But his LinkedIn profile, it read like someone trying to be everything to everyone. We dug into the real issue, a split identity between his personal brand and a growing community, and why that's quietly diluting both. You'll hear why not having a CTA isn't always a mistake, and how one testimonial in the right place could do more than 10,000 impressions. Let's get into it.
Hi, my name is Axel Sukianto. I am a fractional marketing director based in Sydney, Australia, and I help early stage B2B SaaS businesses with growth marketing.
Awesome. I'm super excited to have you on for this Clarity Jam, Axel. So for people who are maybe less familiar, can you talk a little bit about who kind of your ICP is and what you do for them?
Yeah, so I have experience mostly in B2B SaaS marketing, and with these days, I think the cool term is fractional. And what I do is I help both early stage and growth stage B2B SaaS companies with growth marketing. My ICP is very much either like a head of marketing or head of growth kind of role at a Series B plus company, or if I go earlier than that, if I think like seed stage or Series A companies, it's typically their leadership team, their CRO or their CEO who I help with in terms of growth and marketing.
Awesome. So today I know we're going to dive into your own LinkedIn profile because I know, and I can speak to this as well, oftentimes cobbler of shoes problems happen when you're a fractional and you spend all of your time marketing for other people, and maybe oftentimes are not as, your own marketing kind of has a cobbler of shoes problem.
I totally relate to that. About that actually, like one of the reasons that I started my, I would say, like personal brand LinkedIn journey about 3 years ago. I was at a barbecue with a friend and they said, "Oh, if you're so good at marketing, how do you market yourself?" And at the time it hit quite hard because I wasn't doing any marketing for myself apart from like, hey, if I'm looking for a job, I'll apply online. And I wasn't doing very much. And I think that kickstarted this like, okay, I need to focus on how I position myself into the market.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to go ahead and share your screen and we can kind of walk through some ways to beef up your LinkedIn profile.
Let's do it. Is that sharing?
Yeah. So first and foremost, tell me a little bit about kind of what was your mindset when you were thinking about what cover photo and what one-liner to include at the top. Because I see right now it's B2B SaaS marketer in Australia, fractional growth marketing director. Kind of walk me through what you were thinking there.
Yeah, two things. Number one is like, I think like any good marketer should do is you think about the audience. Like when your audience lands here, putting aside how you drive them to the page, once they land here, what is the message you want to convey to them and what do you want them to take away off the page? And what I landed with is probably like some of the things that you see on the page here. The first one being like, who am I and what do I do? Right. And I think that sentence, it took a while to get there. And I don't know if I'm 100% happy with it, but I'm happy with it enough around like, what do I do? Who is my audience? And my audience in this case would be the early stage B2B SaaS businesses. And what do I help them with in terms of growth marketing? And it's very important to me to have like a bit of a picture and a visual about like what I do. I work with a designer to like get my sort of brand out there. I particularly love writing the way I write to my friends on WhatsApp, and I write mostly in lowercase, and that's how she came up with this like, hey, create a brand which is yourself, which is like this lowercase name of myself. And I think hopefully that like sticks to people in terms of brand recall. So those are the things around like think my audience, what do I want to convey to them when they land here, and what they want to take away.
Okay, so I'm gonna go start with the most obvious. Why don't you have a custom button right up there that says book a call with me?
Yeah. So I actually don't have a problem of top of the funnel. That's very unique to me because one thing that I haven't mentioned is I try to focus on businesses in Australia and New Zealand. So I already have like carved out niche to begin with versus like a lot of marketers around the world that target globally. So people who want to work with me either know me or are connected to me on a second degree, that I would encourage them to like connect with me and send me a DM. My calendar on the best of days is already out of control, and I don't want to necessarily book a call and let them control my calendar. I am intentionally making it a bit more friction to reach out to me because then I know they're more qualified. So counterintuitive to like the usual marketing, like drive as many top of the funnel leads as possible. And I also like don't like people controlling my calendar and like leaving a block of time for them to choose.
Fair point. Obviously, you're in kind of that sweet spot position where you're so in demand that you're trying to get your calendar. Love it. However, my question to you is, you have all these people that you've now rented this audience on LinkedIn. why aren't you taking some of that demand, particularly for the people who might not be ready for you yet, or maybe are not a good fit quite yet, and just utilizing that custom button to be like, hey, let's download this lead magnet, go to this blog, sign up for an email list, even if you don't have one right now. So at least you're moving more of those people onto an asset that you own, as opposed to renting on debt.
Fair point. Fair point. I think I think you bring up all the fair points where it is a rented piece of land, LinkedIn, that I think I should probably do something with a custom button. I will consider that. One thing is like prioritization wise, I go like to your point of like creating a lead magnet or creating like an email list. That's something I could consider as part of my backlog, but it's a not right now for me.
What's holding you back from literally just putting a wait list up?
I don't know. I don't actually want that. Like it's not super high on my priority list to create that. One thing that I haven't mentioned on this conversation is like I have community of marketers in Australia and New Zealand called Generate. That in itself I want to create that as a sort of like a standalone entity, not too tied to me for reasons of longevity. So I have the name up there, but like people can see it on my profile if you click lower down. But I don't want my profile to be solely just Generate either. So there was some consideration of like, should I add the link to the website for Generate as my custom button? But I want to split that my personality out in terms of myself and then in terms of like the Generate community.
I'm going to be blunt, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay. I think you might be overthinking it. You have this baller community. I know you've hosted at events and I think even at conference for it. Yep. Why is that not and you don't have a problem with, top of funnel lead gen. Why is that not just a CTA where it's like, go to the community page, put up if you have an apply, or even if you want to go to a folder and apply only things. So at least you're kind of manufacturing the best real estate you have on your LinkedIn page to something that you own.
I don't actually think a custom button is that great a real estate page. And I think that's my personal opinion. And separately, the driving in my case, driving the list in terms of like my own email list or whether it generates email list is not a goal for me. And I think that's what I'm thinking. I may be overthinking it. I'm actually haven't thought about it as much as you asking me today, which is kind of good and is forcing me to come up with some arguments. The Generate community side of it, I haven't mentioned this too much in public, but the goal for the growth of Generate is not actually number of members. I don't want it to be like the biggest place ever. Like a community change, in my opinion, community changes its feel, its value with number of members. It's about the engagement within the community. So like I want people to know about it. And like if you don't know about it, that's fine. But the growth and the focus of Generate itself isn't actually top of the funnel and driving people to it either. So I haven't actually thought about it that much. Now it's kind of good. I'm being forced to think about it. I think I want to stay like, I like where it's at. If people want to connect with me, they have the connect button. They can message me. They can DM me. If they want to find about Generate, they can see it. They can go to the Generates page and go to the website. Yeah, and I'm just left it. It's just not high on my priority list.
First of all, love the clarity around some of what you're looking for. I would argue from just what's the top above the fold, where you have that one-liner B2B SaaS marketer, and then fractional growth marketing director, and then your cover image. Yeah, you have Generate in there. I know what Generated is because I've been, following you and we've chatted offline before. However, nobody who is brand new has any idea that Generated is a marketing community. Or the fact that you kind of sold it in as, hey, this is kind of exclusive. I'm keeping it pretty small by design. That's all amazing value props. I don't necessarily it's just not evident from what you say above the fold.
Of what Generated? Yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah.
That's a fair point. But I guess I will come back to my point that Generate is not my main proposition. I know it's there. Then I think that's probably a problem something I should think about is how do I want to present Generate as part of my profile? Because ultimately, this is my personal LinkedIn page that I want to separate out from a community. Like, I think I'm going a bit of a halfway point where I'm showing people what it is. Either I focus on me or I focus on Generate or like think about the halfway point. Sure.
Yeah, you literally just nailed it. It feels to me, when I see this right now on your page, just from the hero section, is somebody who has a split focused and they're not sure which one to focus on. Yeah,
that's good. Yeah. Thank you. I will think about it. I will add that to my backlog of things to think about. Thank you.
Which one? If you were to fast forward 3 years from now, where do you want to be in terms of a business owner and in terms of the Generate community?
The general community, I think I haven't thought about it that much. I want to my biggest focus would be on me as a marketer. The generate thing is nothing on the side where a few of us are working on it, where we found a niche in Australia in terms of the marketing community side of it and events. But I don't ever think that I want that as a full-time gig for me. And I don't think that I want that as part of my sole personality. Part of the reason is like to lead and to be part of community, you still need to be an expert in your domain. And I can only get that by being a marketer, whether I work in-house full-time or whether I work fractionally across multiple businesses. That's how I get the right sort of insights to then be able to like lead, pass through, share, chat with other marketers through a community. I think that'll forever be a side thing for me, at least if you're asking me today, which is why I think that it's at this halfway point on my page.
I love it. And in that case, you kind of have a little more clarity around that cover image. That cover image right now is basically duplicating what you already say in your one-liner. Can you instead use that cover image? I like the branding, but could you maybe like, put in a testimonial from a client or add in some logos of people you've worked with or something that just, if you don't necessarily want to drive people to book a call for obvious reasons, but you just, kind of showcases, hey, I have, almost 10,000 followers on LinkedIn. Here's my expertise. Here's who I work with. That thing is going to do way more than just repeating the same thing as your one-liner.
Yeah, I think that's fair. One thing that I actually I'm working on this month is getting testimonials from my clients. And which is really funny because I ask my clients to do that with their clients and I never do that for myself. I've actually like reached out to some of them to get testimonials and I'm planning to use that. And I haven't actually thought about the LinkedIn cover image. I was planning to use it in other places, but that might be something that I can use in the cover image.
Yeah, that would be killer. And I mean, I can relate to this so much, and and I'm sure so many other fractionals can relate as well. Which is, it's so easy to tell our clients to do this and to do it for our clients. It's so much harder and so much easier to overthink it for ourselves. But you just kind of nailed it. I would say if you have one banger case study or one banger testimonial, have that be your cover image. It works so well to just further reinforce how credible you are, and that makes your LinkedIn following even bigger. It makes it even more likely they're just going to hand you to maybe at some point even put up that wait list if that's something you decide to do. Or if you have kind of a few just good testimonials, put 3 of them on there. Kind of stick to the same rule of 3 in my experience as you do with pricing.
How would you fit 3 testimonials onto a cover image?
I would say in general, lead with 1. If you have
Maybe
one
one.
really strong one where it has like, the result that you did, do that. If you have 3 that are like what I'd call character testimonials or ones where it's like, so did X, Y, and Z, he really helped us with all of these things. And there's kind of 3 ones that are good, but they're not like exceptional. Like, hey, here's how we went from 1 million to 25 million in ARR in 12 months or something like that. That type of thing, make that one. If not, just do like 3 of them and just kind of work in Canva or whatever to kind of make that work.
Got it. Yeah. I think given the real estate size, I probably lean to 1. I don't know like how you'd fit 3 without losing the audience focus. Like, I don't know if audience focus, like an audience will not read all 3, put it that way. Like when you land on your page. So that's it. They'll see it for about 3 seconds and then they scroll down.
Absolutely. So the other thing I'm kind of noticing, and I can kind of go into the nuances of visuals, but that's probably less exciting. But one other thing I see is like you actually get a decent amount of impressions. You get like almost 15,000 impressions each single for each week or whatnot. Can you kind of walk me through how you think about how often you post and what you post about?
Yeah, so I used to have a much better framework. I think the past few months I haven't been as focused on it. I usually have thinking around at least 3 posts a week, and it's important to not post for the sake of posting and like make it a bit thought through. I try to think about like a week ahead of like what I'm posting and post about things that I'm particularly interested in, but also like what I think could be either one of 2 things, entertaining or educational. So those are the things. Three times a week is what I'm aiming for. But I think what has been mentioned before in some places, like the key of some of these impressions is not necessarily the quality of your post, how often you post, but also your engagement on other people's posts that really like sets your brand apart, right? And then like the LinkedIn algorithm will then see like, oh, you're a part of the community as opposed to just post and just post, leave and post again. the engagement, commenting bit is a big part of, I think, where the number is at.
Absolutely. And if you want to kind of scroll down and let's take a look at one of your last posts.
Yeah, I posted about this one. So today I posted. So I really love sports, and I think about like branding and sponsorship in sports. One of the things that I was reading the past few days is around the cost of sponsorship, and like this is around the sponsorship to the French Open, the tennis, the Roland Garros, and yeah, like some of this stuff. Like I read that, I thought that it was extremely. I read a few bits around this. I thought it was extremely educational, and I was like, oh, this is actually really cool to know, and I decided to write about it and like add some like takeaways as well.
Awesome. And yeah, I would consider this very much a like top of funnel thought leadership style. Hey, here's kind of a marketer's perspective to something that's a hobby. And that makes a ton of sense. Can you scroll back down to your actual profile again?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Now, can you go up to the featured section?
Yep.
Talk about why you're leading with these posts.
I wish I had thoughts behind these, but I actually don't. I think I thought about posts that would establish authority of like who I am as a marketer, and that's how I landed them. And there's three things. Number one is like social proof of like who I am. I think there was an award there was a list, sorry, that I was added into. The second one is about the launch of Generate that we did about a year ago, and the third one is like some social proof around like, hey, I'm a thought leader and I've been given some airtime on stage. Those are the things that I thought about, but haven't really thought about it actually.
Yeah. Have you thought about kind of mixing both some of the posts of your own LinkedIn posts, but also maybe linking to Generate or linking to something from the conference or linking to your own like portfolio site?
No, I haven't. I haven't actually. I haven't.
What's stopping you from doing that?
Prioritization, probably not super high on my priority list. I think if I think of the focus of my LinkedIn page, and my LinkedIn page is to drive that bottom of the funnel interest, and I've had no shortage of that. Noting that I'm not trying to sound cocky. I'm just trying to mention that I have only like 40 hours in a week that I want to work. I've had no problems with that, and like this is serving me well so far. So I haven't put thought into how to like optimize it. What would you recommend?
Yeah. I would, if I was in your position, I would have some sort of, I would keep the speaking gig one because that gives you,
Okay.
because that gives you a lot of proof. Maybe keep one where it's, the leader one is not necessarily a bad, but I maybe wouldn't necessarily have that be one of the top three. I would have
Okay.
one that is literally either your portfolio site or literally a link to a waitlist. Having a waitlist just further indicates, hey, I'm in such in demand. I can pick my clients. I don't have to worry about this sort of thing. And have that waitlist because that's just going to further your credibility that you already have and just make you look that much more in demand. I would do that. I would do the speaking one, and I would do something about your conference. Maybe linking to your conference page because you already got a whole bunch of people in Australia and New Zealand who are marketers, who are your target audience already to convene together. Why are you holding your best asset? I get why you're doing it because you don't want to make it just about you, and that's super noble, but like have a little bit of, that humble flex.
Yeah. So, okay. The portfolio site and the wait list, that's putting food for thought for me. And I think that's fine. And I'll think about that. And one thing that I think this conversation has made me realize is there's this concept of like tall poppy syndrome in Australia. I'd recommend you read it. And I think that's something that I need to like break through and try to promote myself some more.
I totally get it. I actually have quite a few. I've worked with quite a few founders, so I totally understand it. But I'm also like, I almost think you're being a little too humble.
Yeah.
And I love it. I'm also trying to be super humble, but like it's easy to downplay yourself into the fact of just having the world's smallest like little waitlist landing page. It's just gonna further lean into the position you already have and make it even better. And it doesn't have to be like a look how much of a big shot I am. It's literally just, hey, I'm in demand. Here's who I work with. Put your email in here. And there's a couple of there's a Canadian design agency owner who does this so incredibly well. And she's the most humble person on the planet. But she literally has the most badass waitlist system I've ever heard.
There you go. Okay, I'm gonna connect with you offline to like how to improve that one and like how to make that. I think that'll be a good one to work on.
Absolutely. And like there's just ways to do this. And all about just nuance of just like you only can do what you're comfortable with. But embrace being humble, but don't be so humble that it ends up
You
like
don't sell
backfiring
yourself.
on you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a good one. Okay. I'm going to think about that one. Yeah.
Awesome. Before we wrap up, and if you want to stop sharing your screen, is there anything else you want to cover?
Is there anything else I want to cover? No, I think this roast has been helpful and like forcing to clarify some of my thinking. And I think there are some bits that I can improve, but it's also reinforced that I am happy with some of the thinking that I have, but my split focus on like myself as a profile, as well as like some of the side things that I'm working on. But there are definitely some improvements I can make.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again for coming on to Clarity Jams, Axel.